Hey everybody, decided to do something a little different today. I am podcasting from the car. Just kind of wanted to, I was actually in the middle of a conversation with somebody, and as usual, conversation struck me right close to home. And you know, I like to share these things with my audience because I've found that some of my personal experiences resonate with my listeners. So today I want to talk about the life that we want for other people. I want to talk about how we are of the belief that if you show someone fat meat is greasy, that they'll believe that the fat meat is actually greasy. I want to talk about how when we tell somebody the fire is hot, and we know it's hot because we've touched that fire, and they don't believe the fire is hot, and they go put their hand on the stove and they go touch it because they got to see for themselves. And so story time. There are people in my life who have been a part of my life, all of my life, who are now young adults or maybe the same age as I am. And they're at a crossroad of struggle, difficulty, some impoverished, some with drug and alcohol habits, some at the path of just bad decisions after bad decisions. And as a witness bearer of someone who knows what it's like to live a life of instability, to live a life of indecisiveness, to live a life of bad decisions after bad decisions, to live a life of house to house, car to car, loan to loan, dollar to dollar, paycheck to paycheck, house to car, car to truck stop to truck. I've experienced a lot. I've probably lived enough life for maybe 3 or 4 people. And so these people will call you and say, hey, you know, I'm at this crossroad. What is your opinion? And being the person that I am, if you know me, I have God's heart. I love people. And I am a person who chooses to judge a person based on their character and my own personal interaction with them, and not solely based off of what someone else says. And so I always choose to see the good in people because I believe that that's the best thing to do. And so anyway, nobody can tell me anything bad. I mean, somebody can tell me something bad about you, but I make it a choice based on your and our interaction to decide if I believe that the things that were said about you are true, or if I feel like you have a character flaw that I just can't deal with, right? So anyway, based on my experiences, it's very difficult to watch the people you love become consumed with some of the same decisions that I made or decisions that you made, right? I remember a time I was dating somebody, and at the time I was truck driving. I did not have a car. And she would say to me, just wait. I'll continue to come and pick you up. And for me, not only was it about me inconveniencing her, and the inconvenience that it was to me, for me, because with that schedule, you don't know what time you're going to come back, right? You don't know what time you're going to get home from being over the road. Like, those are variables that you cannot control. So there were moments where I would have to wait for her to come and get me. And if it was late at night and then I turn around at 8 hours, it'd be an hour ride home. Got to go home, take a shower. That's another hour. Got to eat food. That could be another 30 minutes to an hour. So by the time I hit the bed and get back up, I'm only getting 4.5, maybe 5 hours of sleep. And then I got to get up and do it all over again. So this schedule became frustrating, to say the least. And it was like, I need my own car. I need my own vehicle. And so contrary to wise instruction or wise advice, I decided I'm gonna go get my own car. So I went to JD Byrider, and JD Byrider, I am not advertising for you because I believe y'all in Drive Time put chains around folk necks. Now, don't get it twisted. People have the option to sign on the dotted line, and most people do it out of desperation. Like, I need wheels. I got to be able to move. And hey, I get it. I'm not judging or faulting anybody for doing what they have to do, because sometimes you just got to do what you got to do, and it may not always be the best decision, but you do what you got to do because that's what needs to be done at this time. But I remember going in there, and the interest rate was 29%. Yeah, you heard me. I ain't stutter. 29%. It was a 2006 Hyundai Sonata. It was nice, don't get me wrong. It was okay for what it was. But the Kelly, so they were selling the car to me for just a little short of $20,000. The Kelly Blue Book value of that thing was like $6,000. So they got over on me for like $13.5, $13.5. My car note was like $400 a month plus $175 or $200 for insurance. And I remember sitting there and this woman said, "Don't do it." And I looked at her and I was like, I'm grown. You don't get to tell me what not to do. I'm tired of waiting on you. I'm tired of being at your every beck and call. And when I get home, I'm ready to go. So because of my impatience and lack thereof of the ability to reason well and make good decisions, I signed my name on a dotted line for a car that was 10 years old, 12 years old. Hey, everybody. Had like 80,000 miles on it, over the Kelly Blue Book value. And I think the term was like 72 months. I made that dumb decision. And the woman I was dating at the time, I believe that she was disappointed because she knew it wasn't going to end well. And she was like, I don't know why you would do something like that. If you waited another month or two, you could have a car. Either a car that you could finance brand new, or we could get you a cash car that won't have you tied down for 72 months on this old piece of shit car. And so I didn't want to hear it. I'm independent. I want to do my own thing. I don't need you. I don't want to need you. And even though I know this is probably one of the worst decisions I can make in my life, out of desperation for something that I needed but I didn't need it because my transportation was really taken care of, it just wasn't in the time frame that I wanted it to be in, I signed on the dotted line. And she was very vocal in front of the salesperson about how bad this sale was, so much so that he told her she had to get out. He was like, we can't have her in here because I was messing up their money. So that was a bad decision. And in the end, I wound up filing bankruptcy. I was at work. I parked the car on the street. A semi-truck hit my car and pushed the car up onto the sidewalk and ruined the axles. So the car was undrivable. And was one of the worst decisions I could have ever made. And I paid the cost for that decision for a very long time. Another example. If you got a kid, maybe your child is 18, 19, 20, and you want your child to further their future, and you're saying to your child, look, I lived a hard life. I know what it's like to work dead-end jobs, and I work sun up to sundown. Go to school, get your degree, go get a trade, be productive. I understand, and this is no shot or shade to teenagers working at McDonald's, but McDonald's for the average person is not a career. McDonald's is a vehicle to progress and advance you to the next level until you can do what you need to do. But there's that mother, that father saying to their son, their daughter, look, this is not permanent. Go back to school. Do what you need to do. And I'm not saying that school is for everybody, so please don't misconstrue what I'm saying. There are people that are very successful that are non-degreed. There are people that are very successful that have trades. There are people that own their own businesses that don't have degrees, are not trades, or don't have trades, and they're multimillionaires. So I'm not saying it's not going to happen, but I want to say it's an anomaly. And so the frustration of watching people struggle and seeing their potential and knowing that there are better options available to and for them, but they refuse to hear you. And they can't hear you because in the seat of desperation, it's not about my potential. It's about my need. And or, I don't believe I really can do this. Just because you did it doesn't mean that I can do it. I don't know if I'm capable of accomplishing the same things that you've accomplished. My life is harder. I've got this and I've got kids and and so I understand the frustration of you seeing the potential in the other person and they can't see it in themselves. And you want it so bad for them that when they don't do it, it hurts. It's frustrating because I wanted this so badly for you and you didn't listen to what I had to say. And I'm not just talking to y'all, I'm talking to myself. I deal with it. There are people in my life I want so badly for them to succeed. And it's like watching them run on a treadmill, but just put it in a circle. You running real fast, but you ain't going nowhere. Or you make a little progress and then you wind up back at the same spot. Or you go jump out and you do this and then it costs you thousands and thousands of dollars. It costs you peace of mind. You losing weight. You stressed out. You lost relationships. And you find yourself on this perpetual cycle of repetitiveness and redundancy because you are afraid to actually believe that you can do something different. But they can't see it from your eyes or your perspective because for them, it's their time of desperation or it's their time of disbelief or unbelief that they possess the actual ability to do what you see the potential in them to do. So instead of beating you up, I just come to encourage you and say this. What I've learned, and I always say season because I believe life is seasons, right? Just like the weather comes in seasons, life happens in seasons as well. There are ups, there are downs, there are middle grounds, hot, cold. There are a variety of seasons that you're going to face in your life. It won't always be a straight line, right? There are going to be some curves and leaps and bounds in there. What I've learned in this season is no matter how hard or how much or how strongly you want for somebody, until that person decides to do it for themselves, you're wasting, well, I won't say you're wasting words. I won't say that. Let me retract that statement and say it again. No matter how hard, how strongly, how much you want something for someone, until they see it in themselves, they'll never accomplish it. And I think that's a hard thing to believe because it's like, did you not see what I dealt with? Do you not remember when I was down and out? Do you not remember when I was sleeping in the car and I was calling you, asking you for food? Do you not remember? How can you live through that experience? How can you see me live through that experience and not know that there is a light at the end of the tunnel for you? Why do you want to repeat the same cycle that I experienced before you figure out that you don't have to go through this path? And that has been one of the most frustrating, hard lessons that I've had to learn in this season. And not only is it hard to learn, but you have to have grace and you have to have patience with people and understand that people are not on your time. People don't learn math because you want them to. It's like a mental agreement, right? In order to really conceive something or to understand, there's a two-part of that. It has to be, one, I have a desire to learn. Number two, I have to believe that I can actually digest what it is that I'm learning. And three, I have the willingness to make it applicable. All three of those steps are imperative for a person to be successful and or to receive the advice that you are giving them. And as givers, as pourers, we have to remain in a position where we don't become tired or frustrated when we give advice or we give our verbal help to someone and they receive it, but they don't put it in practice the first time. I remember getting pissed off because I'm like, I told you not to do that. And I told you it was going to end this way. And see, look what happened. And I had to catch myself and go, wait a minute. What gives me the right to beat this person over the head because they didn't put my advice into practice or into play? Who am I to make the decision that this was the best route for them? I'm not living their experience. I'm not living their truth. I don't know what their limitations are, what they feel that those invisible limitations are that prohibit them from pushing forward into progressing into the next place of their lives. That is a very hard lesson. So this is really to encourage the parent that, hey, you know, my kid is going to school and they flunking, or they in college and I done wasted my money. They keep falling out. They keep doing these dead end jobs. They selling weed. They selling pills. They selling X. They doing shrooms. And I just want my child to live a legal life, and they just refuse. And I'm gonna say this. Sometimes you gotta let people fall on their heads. I remember my grandmother used to say to me, the harder your head, let's say a hard head makes a soft tail or soft butt. I believe that. Because eventually you keep falling, that ass gonna soften up. You keep having this hard head where can't nothing get in and can't nothing come out. And you keep falling on your ass, it's gonna hurt. That booty gonna soften right on up. It's gonna humble you a little bit. And sometimes it takes repeating the same mistake before we finally learn, okay, I keep going to the left, I need to go to the right this time. I keep putting my foot up under the stove and the oven top keeps falling on top of it. I keep turning the pot up too high and I keep burning the rice. It's boiling too quickly. There's an adjustment that has to be made. But sometimes self-actualization and self-realization is a process. Sometimes people have to be hurt to grow. I really believe that growth occurs in uncomfortable situations. And sometimes, until people are uncomfortable, they will never make the right choice. It really goes back to that thought that right and wrong is subjective. What's right for me may be wrong for you. Just like I believe it's in Judaism. Those people believe that if an animal is suffering upon its death, that you ought not kill the animal prematurely, but you ought to let the animal endure its suffering. And the animal is enduring the suffering due to its previous life because they believe in reincarnation. So maybe in its previous life as a human being, this person wronged somebody. So now as a cow, it's dying a hellish death. And they allow that animal to go through what it needs to go through. And then when it reincarnates, hopefully it comes back as something else. And I make that self-applicable. Sometimes you got to let people live their hellish life. Sometimes it takes folk to go to jail. Sometimes it take people to take that money that they didn't went to the party and spent $300 on a Ciroc bottle instead of paying the electricity bill. Now they sitting in the dark and they cold before they figure it out. Sometimes you got to let people fall into the hole that they have created. If you continue to put a blanket down and cushion it, they'll never learn. I work with a lady, her daughter, she was on probation in a different state. The judge allowed that woman to come back here to the state of Michigan under the terms, under the guise that you would be staying home with your mother and that you would not return to the previous state. If you violated that order, then you were going to go back to jail. So she comes home one day and tells her mom, hey, I need to go back to whatever state it is she was living in. My boyfriend needs something, whatever. She wound up going out there, riding in the car with the boyfriend and his friend. He was a felon with a weapon. She wound up having a weapon. It was drugs in the car. The girl went back to jail. Cash bond. It was what, $300,000, 10% is what you got to pay. The mother goes and pays the 10%, so $30,000. I believe she took equity out on her house. Goes and pays the $30,000 and then comes back home and her life is in shambles. Life is in disarray. And goes and gets the daughter out and then repeats the same cycle again. And her and I had that conversation and I said, look, I love my child. I love my children, even the one that's unborn. And I believe in grace and mercy, and as your father, I'm going to protect you, and I'll even bail you out a couple of times. But there has to come a point where you understand as an adult, that person has made a conscious decision that this is what I'm going to do. Even though it's contrary to the rules that were set before me, and I know it's the wrong thing to do, and I know that if I do this, I'll be risking everything. But in the back of her subconscious, she said, it doesn't matter what I do. I know my mom is going to rescue me. And that's the problem. We create grown brats. We create entitled adults because we don't set the boundary that says, yeah, I'll bail you out, but if you continue to go down this road and make this decision, I'm no longer going to put my hand out to cushion your fall. You've got to let people fall. You've got to let people be on the street sometimes. You got to let folk miss meals because of their inability, sometimes not just that they can't make good decisions, they choose to make wrong decisions with the understanding that somebody's going to bail me out. I know somebody like that today. I continue to mismanage what I have because no matter what I do, I know you are going to bail me out because you love me. And they will capitalize on that love to get what they want and what they need. So please understand, some people have to fall in the hole that they create for themselves in order for them to live a better life and have a better experience. But the longer you stick your hand out, you put that blanket out, you put that chair out, you lay that mattress out to cushion their fall, they're never going to learn. I'm not saying everybody. Please don't believe I'm saying everybody because people are different, right? There's no one size fits all for everybody, but in a general standpoint, from a generalized perspective or a generalized place, you understand that I'm saying some people have to be dropped on their heads. Being a superhero to somebody who will not save themselves will kill you in the end. And I don't mean a literal death, but you may have a financial death. You could have a mental and emotional death because you're spending so much time and so much life and energy into pouring into somebody who refuses to make better choices. So please accept from one friend to the next that we cannot create the life that we want other people to have. It's not our job to create the life for other people that we want them to have. Living through someone will not deliver the end result that you hope for. I was sitting here thinking about the other day, my son, he's extremely brainy, right? But I was watching a story of this dad, this man, his son, went on to play pro football, and as a gift, he bought his dad a decked out Audi. I mean, clean, $300,000 car. And I was like, woo, yeah, I want my son to do that. But I thought about it. I said, you know what? If my son never plays a sport, maybe he'd be a chess player. Maybe he'll be into gymnastics. Hell, maybe he'll tap dance. I'm going to love my son and support him and not live my life through my kid because it may not be the life that I create for him. And when and if he falls, and if he fails, I'll dust him off. I'll help him get himself back together again. But if he continues to purposefully, knowledgeably make bad decisions that are against everything we morally believe in, he's on his own. And I have to accept, be it successful or failure, the life that he chooses. It is not my job, not my responsibility to enforce or to project my opinion of the life I think you should have, be it good advice or not. And I have to be okay with the decisions you do or you don't make. So that's my message today. That's my theme today. Be okay with the person not living the life that you created for them. Be okay that even though you've given advice and you've extended your help and you've extended your arm to that person, they may have received it, but they didn't follow it. Be okay. Don't harden your heart and turn away from that person. Some people just need a listening ear, a shoulder to cry on. But don't harden your heart and turn away from that person because I told you to do this and you didn't do it. That's their prerogative. Be okay.